Last week I spoke about ignorance and upheaval, and I got a note from someone saying, "Do you have to be so pessimistic?" Basically asking, could I talk about ignorance and upheaval positively? Maybe. I don't usually bring in current events to my talks exactly. And, for the historical record, this was a bad week in this country. A lot of killings. Middle of a political season that's really disruptive on some level. And how to look at all that. And I'm not sure I have the answer for you, so you may want to turn this off now. So many ways to look at it. Rudy, I remember when Robert Kennedy was killed, talked about a woman who came into a store and was sobbing about Bobby Kennedy. And he said, this is a woman who would never cry for her own father. Wouldn't cry for anyone in her family, but she could cry about Bobby Kennedy because he was removed. It was a national problem, and she didn't have to deal with the truth of her own reality. I was very struck by that because I really understood how easy it is to get caught up in the surrounding dramas and somehow not find any way to deal with your own. At one point around that same time I was protesting Dean Rusk speaking at the Hilton Hotel in New York, and I was part of a group of people trying to turn over a police car. And some guy on horseback, policeman, came over with a club and went like that, and I pulled my hand out just enough time to keep my hand, and he did a horrible dent in the police car. And I said, what am I doing? What am I doing? Why am I here exactly? I mean, it felt like the right thing to do. I was being part of the social contract in a way, trying to express my outrage at the world around me. And I'd already just at that point started studying with Rudy, and I just said, I'm not doing this anymore. I did actually go to one protest years later for the Iraq War. It was a peace protest, but I never in my life saw angrier people. They were yelling and screaming, and it was horrible. It was a horrible thing. I said, why am I doing this? Why am I part of a peace protest with nobody who's got anything approaching peace in them? So I never went on another peace protest. So the question is, how do you deal with global events or local events that are potentially distressful? Well, you can kind of ask, who is it distressful for? Who is reacting to this? And that's always a good question. And in the old days, it was Bruce. Bruce would react to all of these dramas, and I always thought that I was a peaceful person and a good person, and therefore my reaction to them was an expression of the collective whole and of my sort of deeper goodness, if you will. My outrage was part of a kind of anger at a disharmonious society. But it didn't help society, I'll tell you that, at all. It just made my life full of rage and toxicity. So I lived in my own toxic anger. And in a way I can feel that even now, but it's funny because it doesn't feel like mine. It doesn't feel like Bruce being angry. If anything, it's not anger at all. It's just this provocative sadness. It's a sense of, isn't it unfortunate to live in a world of such paradisical promise and have people killing each other. Crazy. It's so crazy. And what to do about it? So, there's always the idea of go into a cave. Retreat from the world. Find that still point in yourself, the beauty in yourself, the depth of oneness, the being that is not affected by the outer world. And in fact, you may find that spot. It's there to be found. There is a place of peace that surpasseth understanding, and you can go there. But that place is not totally impervious to the outer drama of the world. I mean, you may be one of the lucky ones. You're high enough in the Himalayas, it's not going to come after you. Unless you're in Nepal, then you have earthquakes, things like that. But mostly, no one's going to come get you. And you can live in perpetual peace. And I know people, I've met people, I watch people who have arrived at that place. It's really interesting to me because they are protected by, defended by their withdrawal from life. They are living in a place of profound oneness, except that that oneness doesn't step outside the cave of their being. It may be fine, and I don't want to be judgmental about it. But there is something to be questioned about what happens when you step out of that cave, if you do, and go back into the world. Does that peace follow you? From stories I've been told, it does not. You know, it's one thing to find the peace in the cave. It's another thing to find that peace in the world. It's one thing to find that peace divorced of all communication with other human beings, and another thing to find that peace in the midst of dialogue with others, or conflict with others, or the drama of day-to-day life. That's a different kind of peace. And it's the kind of peace Rudy tried to talk about. The peace of being here with everything that's going on. You know, the idea that, as Rudy said so often to us, your spiritual life is this life. This is it. And that was really important to me. So it's the path that I took. I did not go into a cave. And I met somebody not long ago who had been in a cave internally for a long time. I never saw anybody of greater depth, and I may have talked about this person here, so forgive me if I'm repeating myself. And this person was very connected to a hugging teacher. And yet when I went to hug this person, I never felt more resistance. Like, don't touch me. And I'm going, but it made no sense to me. It made no sense. All I knew is that this person had found the cave of their own withdrawal, their own security, their own peace, their own private paradise. But when it came to being in the world, there was nothing but defenses. And I don't want to judge it. It may work for them, but it's not at all what speaks to me in this world of non-duality awakened being. Awakened being is not hiding in the light. Awakened being is being part of the darkness, being part of the whole, the totality that we are in. Now, how do you deal with the totality you're in when it has disruption of what could be large magnitude? Well, first of all, we don't know that it's large magnitude. We don't know. But I was trying to think of it this way. if we are the sky, this beautiful blue sky, and we start to get used to the fact that the sun comes up and turns us blue, and then it goes down and we become black, and it does that in kind of equal measure, so we're both light and dark, which is beautiful, and it's patterning, it works, it's a harmonious reality, we all are aware of it night and day, and it's quite exceptional. Sometimes into that beautiful blue sky, these clouds come, and lightning and thunder comes, and rain happens, and snow falls, and all these things happen into that environment, and we're sort of like, yes, of course, that all happens. I am the sky in which all these things take place, but I am not the stuff that's happening. I am not the stuff that's happening. I am that in which it happens. Or, if you will, I am that in which it happens, and I am that as well. I am all of that, the totality. Being just the sky is very beautiful. It's a release. I am the sky. And everything can happen, and you feel kind of detached. You can learn how not to give in to the thunder and the lightning and the snow and the drama of the sky. You just accept it. You accept it. You say, yes, so, even that. Even that. Okay, so let me pose something, which I'm posing to myself as much as to you, because I don't have answers. What do you do when the sky is filled with, I'm going to put it dramatically, nuclear winter, or global warming that creates a kind of perpetual darkness, ultimately, a perpetual rain, a perpetual grayness? What do you do when that sky, which goes from blue to dark and blue to dark, just becomes dark? Period. That's a different story. It's a different story. And yes, the answer may be the same. It may be, yes, I am that. I mean, I try to imagine myself in, the Nazi Germany period, and I have some vague sense that I was there at my last life, and that I was probably in a camp, and I probably went through the fires and God knows where, and the crematoriums, and then here I am talking and speaking to you, probably because I came right out of the World War II. I was born in the middle of it, 1943. I think I came out of that with this journey of spiritual awakening bursting in my soul, because I came from that darkness. And what that darkness produced was a journey into whatever we're talking about now. I don't know if that's true, guys. That's just, it's storytelling. But perhaps global warming, darkening skies, and I say darkening skies meaning who knows what global warming produces, but it's not what we're used to. Who knows what the election cycle we're in produces. It could be nothing. It could just, come November, we may be back into some vague kind of normalcy, but we may not be. And also, what is normalcy, and what has been revealed in this election cycle is polarities, deep, dark, heavy polarities, ways of looking at the world that do not come together. And, those of you who are sitting listening to this talk saying, why is he talking about this stuff? Oh God, this isn't spiritual. This is what it is. This is what's going on. This is what we're in. And you can go sit in a cave if you want, and God bless it, enjoy. But if you're not in the cave, you are what is happening. You are all of this. And yes, there is a place that can go, aso, yes, even this. And I recommend that. Even this is a good thing, because everything is possible in the reality of the human experience. Everything is possible, and it is our collective shared experience that is unfolding right now. So what do we do about it? What do we do? Well, I think I said this last week, so forgive me if it's becoming repetitive and doesn't sound optimistic. But I think what you can do is show up to the moment and be present. In other words, don't put your head in the sand necessarily. Just observe it. Observe it and go, this too is an expression of the universe. This too is an expression of what is. Yes, it's dramatic and dynamic, but the world goes through that all the time. From the beginning of time on this planet, there has been conflagration, battles, fights, awful things, and, as we all know from the stories that we're told and from our own inner life, beauty. Light and beauty. Love. In the midst of all of that, love. The classic storytelling is always about not just survival, but about the awareness of this tiny speck of light in the middle of all the darkness that we can face. This tiny speck. But if you focus on a tiny speck of light, it gets bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, and ultimately illuminates the darkness. That's what we've got, guys. We have that not just as an external thing. It's not like love is out there and light is out there. The great thing that we learn in this practice, and in any meditative practice, is if you dive deep inside yourself, there is in that space a perennial illumination, a constant light, a constant source that feels like love and feels like embrace. It loves, I'll say you, to make it dualistic, it loves you, but what it really loves is itself. It loves. Not that it loves as a verb, but it is love. And that is our deepest inner nature. So if you're looking into the world around you and it's disrupting, and things are going on, and you look like there's a cliff that we could fall over, which there is. We may not fall over it now, but we could. Where do you go? Well, you go to this place of stillness and deep luminosity that exists inside you, and you feel that light. But why do you feel that light? Just so you can warm yourself by the fire? No. So you can be the light and come into the world and provide that spark of warmth and love and light for others. That's the whole idea. You become the light. Let me tell you right now, you are the light. So are all these people doing terrible things. The difference is, I talked about it last week, either you're aware of it or you're ignorant of it. If you are ignorant of it, ignorance creates huge problems. They're called karmic problems. Karma means consequence. If in your ignorance you do bad things or difficult things, you perpetuate difficult and unpleasant things for others, and more importantly, for you. And you have to dig yourself out of deeper and deeper and deeper holes of bad consequence. And they're hard to get out of. And if I sit and listen to most of your stories, I hear karma. I hear choices that were made either by you or your parents or somebody that created a consequence for you and keep creating consequence. And so you keep living a life of ignorance perpetuating ignorance, and we end up in a world very much like what we're facing on television or in the newspaper or online. And it's everywhere. It is everywhere. Try to get away from it. I get angry at people who get away from it. My sister, who I love deeply, does not have a computer and does not have a cell phone. I can't call her. I can't leave a message for her. I can't Skype her. I can't do anything. I can only do regular phones, and I get an answering machine because she's never home. And I love her, but I want her to be more connected to the world. On the other hand, she is so blissfully unaware of almost all of this stuff that on some level I admire what she's doing. On another level I say, connect. Connect. Be part of this. Be part of it. Why should I be part of it? Because you are. How much do you need to be part of it? That's up to you. I have a hard time watching the news, but yet I watch it. I no longer, as I described before, have filters like I used to have that goes, that's the news. Right now, every individual sad story is my story. It impacts the me, if you will, the global I that I am. Nobody dies without my feeling it. It is perpetual sadness on one level and perpetual amazement at the wonder of what this universe is, because it tolerates this stuff. Not only does it tolerate it, it's built upon it. I cannot, for the life of me, understand it. I cannot understand the how or the why of it. I only know that it is self-perpetuating in a profound way, and that somehow I am at the source and the core of all of this. And this is how it works. And there is within the creative, embryonic psyche of my being that which produces light and dark, that which produces war and peace, that which produces all of the balances and imbalances of the world. That is what we are, all of us, together. How do you live with that? How do you live with it? Well, if you live on the surface of it, you will be in the wave action of the world. And the wave action of the world right now is wildly chaotic. The wave action is not fun for anybody. And if you're caught in the waves, all I can tell you is, and anybody who goes surfing knows, you get under the waves, go deep. Of course, you won't breathe down there, but if you go deep, the wave action is no longer affecting you. You arrive at a place of stillness in the depth of the ocean that you are. That's the journey. That's the meditative journey. That's the ride we're on. It's why we're here, to learn how to stabilize and then to learn how to find that stillness and bring that back into all of this. Yes, it will be disrupted by the ride, but you will be the still point, or you will have the anchoring to the still point that will allow you to reflect some stillness in the world. Yes, you cannot walk around and cry about every single horrible event that's occurring around us, but you can find in that stillness, one, that you appreciate it, that you're not removed from it, that you are one with it, and at the same time you are absolutely unmoved by it. Unmoved by that, I mean not you have an anchor into something profoundly still and real. Yes, there's movement on the surface, and yes, you can be touched, and yes, you can feel, and yes, you are all the stuff that's going on. You are global warming. You are the political dramas. You're all the upheaval that's happening everywhere. You are that. But if you live with this anchor inside you that goes, I am that, I am one with that, you are not caught in the dualistic drama of it. You're aware of it, you experience it, you know it, but you are, in a sense, free in it. Or free to be free. You can also be engaged. You can do whatever you like. You're such an unbelievably lucky being. You can throw yourself into the whole drama, and you can pull yourself back into complete, absolute distance and stillness, joy and bliss at any moment. That is the freeness of your reality. If you don't have that freedom, you're missing something. You're missing something. It's yours. It's your game. It's your drama. It's your universe. And the thing you can do in your universe is show up, care about it, care about the people who are at the core of your life, not the ones who are out in the periphery. I mean, you can care about them, but if you're shedding tears for people on television and you don't shed tears for the people in your life, you're missing something. If you're caring for, I'll go out there and save the world, but you're not saving the people next to you, you're missing something. This is what we're here for. It's what I loved about Rudy's teaching. It was so here and now. He always said, if it's in front of you, it's yours. Trust me on that. If it's in front of you, it's yours. If there's a cup on the street and you don't pick it up and put it in the garbage, you're leaving it for somebody else, but it was yours. It was yours. If you're aware of it, it's yours, guys. How do I relate to it? What do I do with it? You can try to be grand with it. You can try to, do dramatic events and do things that will, I don't know, go serve meals to people in the refugee camps in Syria. I mean, I get that. I get it. But you can also serve meals here, and you can also just, be kind to somebody on the street. You can do something worthy. You can do what you feel you need to do, but don't do the outer and not do the inner. Don't take care of the world and not take care of your family. Don't take care of that which is, getting your attention on television and not getting your attention in your daily life. I mean, the televisions are really, they're really interesting. I mean, first of all, we all know we're being totally manipulated by them. Everybody knows that. You know, somebody's picking the news stories. I used to work at NBC News way, way back as a film editor, and I remember there was something that happened in some country. It may have been Ecuador, I don't remember exactly, and there was a little bit of a disruption or a riot, and we were putting it on the news, and in one shot, distant into the material, was a shot of a little kid with a red communist flag. And the producer said, "Open the segment with that shot." And I went, that's not what's going on. That's not what's going on. This was one kid with a flag. They opened with that flag, and they completely dictated our response to the news. Do you not think that goes on all the time? Do you not think we're being manipulated for what reason? For really entertainment, or drama, or eyes on the tube and excitement and whatever it is that's going to grab us? Don't you think that's what's going on all the time? Of course it is. Of course it is. And why? Because we want it. Because we're suckers for it. We love the drama. We all love the drama until you get to the point where you don't love it, which I have arrived at. I just don't love it. But I try to watch it with what's called critical eye, meaning I don't believe it all. I just watch it. I go, okay. Now I know what's happening. Of course, it's not what's happening, because what's happening is so much bigger. Blanche and I have started watching different newscasts, trying to compare how they cover things. And we've discovered that NBC loves the weather. You know, everything is about tornadoes and hurricanes. And CBS doesn't like the weather. You know, NBC likes to end with a happy story. Not everybody has to end with a happy story. But what's really interesting is seeing how the same news is documented by these different places. And none of it's ultimately true. But it is true. This is what we're being fed. This is the mass consciousness. This is the collective awareness. We have to be aware of the collective awareness because it's us. Or meditate in the cave. It's funny, I talked a few weeks ago about, you know, we're not shepherds, you know, taking care of sheep or goats anywhere. You know, we're all engaged in the world. We're not off on a hillside somewhere. Well, last week, my son and I took a long walk together, and we ended up in the hills over, God knows, over there somewhere, and there was a shepherd, and about 300 goats going by, everywhere. And I'm going, oh my God, I'm in my talk. and I'm watching, and I'm loving these goats, and they're eating everything in their path, every lower branch, everything on the ground. And the shepherd was a Hispanic kid who did not speak English. He had this huge heart. I could just feel his heart. But he was on his cell phone the whole time. And I went, okay. So much for a shepherd in contemporary society. You know, we're not going to get free. We're not going to be sitting like David on a hillside composing psalms to the Lord, you know. We are caught in the drama of day-to-day life. Every one of us is caught in it. And you can free yourself of it if you want by not paying attention, or you can free yourself by paying attention. Which freedom do you want? Do you want to be the free person who hides from the world, or the free person living in the world? That's kind of your choice. Really is your choice. And part of what you're doing here, collectively, is trying to find a way into the place inside you that gives you choice, that allows you freedom. The great freedom of a human being is not gathered out there, it's found in here. It's found inside. That's the place that ultimately releases you from your attachments to everything that's going on. It doesn't make you impervious to them or oblivious to them. It just frees you in the sight of them. You become free. Or you recognize, because the word become is kind of a funny word in the non-dualistic community, you don't become something, you realize what has always been. You are free. You are a liberated being. You exist in this wonderland of existence because you do. And there's no way to grasp how you got here, why you got here, what you're doing here, what this is all about. There is no way to ultimately figure that out other than the fact that you are that. You are that. So you are. And if you don't know it, it's because you're living behind the scrim of your own personality, your own ego mind, your own desires, your own limitations, your own issues and dramas and fears and all that. And if you live behind all of that, you get a very strange perception of the world out there, and you don't realize that everybody's living behind all of those layers of, I don't know what you want to call them, blinders that keep you from seeing the world. When those get removed, you will look at everybody and see the blinders. You will see how they're looking at the world. You'll see it, and you just wish you could go and take away the blinders. I use the image a lot of being in the ophthalmologist's office, the optometrist office, and they have the machine on you, and they're looking at those words, and they're saying one or two, which is clearer, which is clearer. I would like to clear every one of your visions. I would love to do it, and I can't. I simply can't. There's no way. I don't have access to the machinery. All I can do is tell you, go deep inside, and there is something inside that will start to clarify. It clears the vision. You can go 1, 2, 2, 1. See it better. I see it better. I see it better. I see it better. Oh my God! I'm seeing. Oh, wow! It's all so clear. I didn't know it was so blurry. That's what you get to. You realize you were seeing everything in such a blur you had no idea, and it was affecting every part of your psyche. Your emotions, your feelings were so disturbed by what you were seeing because you weren't seeing clearly. Take away the filters, and you'll see, oh, and you will live differently. You will live compassionately because you realize everyone's walking around blind and you're not, or at least you have one eye kind of working, and it feels that you can see a little bit. That's the journey we're on, and it's the only way to approach the world we're in. Find your truth, find your freedom, and bring that freedom and that light as best you can to anyone who is in your purview. If they're in front of you, they're yours. Help bring them illumination. Don't do it by trying to teach them something. Don't do it by saying, oh, you should come to my class. Do it by being light and freedom itself. They will look at you and they will benefit from you. They will. They will find joy in your presence, and that will be a gift beyond measure. You can be that which brings joy and love and caring to the world, and it needs you. It needs you right now. But you can't bring it if you don't know what I'm talking about. So you have work to do, and if anything, what's happening in the world should inspire this work. Not going out and protesting and yelling and screaming or whatever you're going to do. I mean, you can do that, but if you do it without this work, you will not bring any clarity to the picture. You'll just bring more muddled equation. What you want to do is find your way into this core, and then you can really serve. You can really bring love and light to everyone around you. And that's all you have to do. Literally, all you have to do. That's your job. If you have the strength, and this time we're in right now, either builds strength or it builds, it creates destruction. And you don't want that to be you don't want that to be the case. It's a helicopter noise. Even in the cave, even in your cave, helicopters fly over. And if you can label it a helicopter, you'll be able to let it go. If you sit in the cave for too long, you'll develop fears that will be unpleasant. You want to be free, to know that life is infinite and eternal and shining on you and from you and within you, whatever happens. That's the optimism. That's the ultimate optimism of this talk. That you are the thing you're looking for. Emanate it. Be it. And if you can't hold on to it, work harder. And working harder doesn't mean holding more. It means letting go more. The more you let go, the more it is. The harder you hold on, the more it squeezes through your fingers and disappears. Let go, let go, let go, let go. Surrender, surrender, surrender. Be who you are. That will keep you optimistic. Any questions?
So when Rudy said, you take the external world and internalize, and so you found that still place, and you're with the world, and you accept it, okay? So I was reading this book, and you might know him, Stephen Levine, A Year to Live, but on page 106 he said Rudy was his first teacher, which was sort of cool. But he says that gratitude is the highest form of acceptance. So in this world, everything's going on, we've got our still place, we go day to day, and we go this too, I accept it. But that's a big step to have gratitude for it, like from my perspective anyway. Can you speak to that?
Well, first of all, there's a very big misunderstanding
Okay.
in all of this that you're expressing. That the idea that there's an I and an it. Yes, that will be the process for a long time, that I have the capacity to do, or I am the one who feels, or I'm not using your words exactly, but as long as there is something that you have and have achieved, you will still be in a state of dualistic thinking that has within it the potential for enormous suffering. Because ultimately the I is going to disappear, and mostly it disappears in death for most people, and that death is scary and hard to come by. I mean, not hard to come by, but hard to open to. And therefore, it's not really free and liberated. The liberated free is that gratitude is not something you have, gratitude is something you are, and you will discover it comes out all the time, all day long. It just is. This is my experience. The more I have unfolded, which is my experience of awakening, has been one of constant unfolding. Not Bruce unfolding, because Bruce, gone. But it's the unfolding of whatever it is I am. And don't ask me to explain it, because I can't tell you, but I know it's speaking to you. And this I am is nothing but grateful. It's grateful. It walks down the street grateful. It looks at flowers. I know this is corny, and I've said it before. I see the flowers emerging for me, not Bruce, for me. They're appearing to be, to share this remarkable, unbelievable miracle of existence that almost nobody sees. Why are people walking around carrying guns? Why? What is that? Where is the miracle in that? Trying to kill people, trying to protect yourself. What are you trying to protect? Not your true self, your ego-minded little ego self. What else would they be trying to protect? And you can't protect it. Why? Because it's going to die. There's no way to protect it ultimately. It is ultimately it's impermanent. It's a tiny little speck of things, and to fight to hold on to that is the real source of ignorance in human experience. Is there gratitude in that mind? I'm going to guess yes. For every moment that the dangerous other doesn't kill them. And then you'll feel like I'm one with the Lord that protects me from them and the other, and you'll feel safe and impervious to pain, and then pain will come and somebody's going to come and kill you. Or it's going to happen. It's going to happen from the inside or the outside. I watched a documentary with Blanche the other night on this book, Being Mortal. It was about all these people dying. And great documentary. But what I couldn't get over was these people so unprepared for the eventuality of their own death. Totally unprepared. Days away. And still, give me something. Put me through another test. Give me some other medication. There's nothing left. It's just more suffering until you finally go, okay. But these guys, many of them didn't go okay. And then there's this one guy who absolutely said, this is the best time of my life. Mm-hmm. It's so beautiful. And you could see it, the way he was reacting to his children and his grandchildren and to life. Most people are sitting with their guns loaded, waiting to kill death. Can't happen. Can't happen. And their gratitude is short-lived. Get rid of the gun, say thy will be done, and gratitude will fly out of you. And then if you're lucky, the you that is separating you from anybody else will evaporate, and you'll discover what you've always been, which is life itself. You are life itself. And life loves itself, which is why it tries so hard to perpetuate itself endlessly. Why do you think there's seeds everywhere? Why does it keep growing? Why do we have sex? Because We're hungry to keep this thing going. We're hungry. And if it needs to, if we're destroying the planet, if I were the Lord of all existence and I saw a creature destroying everything that I had created, I would get rid of it. Why? I don't need people. You know, on the other hand, they created Beethoven's Ninth Symphony. So maybe I need some. So let's keep a few. We'll keep a few because they do create some really beautiful things, but we don't need so many billions of people that we have to pave the whole earth into concrete. We don't have to have that many. And it does work that way, unfortunately. But those of us ego-bounded beings who feel like, not me, are going to, yes, you too. You're going to go. Does it matter? Well, in this really deep, 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 deep place, they can't kill you. They can't touch you because you exist forever. So why go through this crazy drama of being fearful of the one thing that will come and get you that ultimately can't kill you because you can't be killed? Only the ego-minded thing can be killed, and that's delusional, karmically driven, consequentially crazy being that lives in this absurd world that we have created. Rudy called this the Bellevue of the solar system, and that's really what it is. We're in the Bellevue of the solar system. This is the madhouse, and we're in it. We should be the caretakers and try to help people, you know. Rudy also said, and this is really interesting, that, you know, the world is like, he said, it's like a blast furnace, and you take the metals that are impure and you put them in the blast furnace, and it burns away the impurities and brings you into the pure metal. And in a way, we are beings whose souls are thrown into this very complicated, fiery world, and we either come out pure or burned to a crisp. And I think we have the right to become pure. And if you're conscious about it, you will deal with the power of the universe as lovingly as possible. But I will tell you, it hurts to burn. It hurts the ego to burn. So most people do not like burning. But burning is at the core of the human experience. If you can understand, it's burning away the impurities by revealing the impurities, and then it will leave you free. That's the process. Burning is what we do. It's called suffering, struggle, opposition. Those are the sources of a lot of our difficulty in life, but don't try to kill people because of it. Use it well. Use it to free you and become whole and to become you, because that's what it's there for.
I can see having gratitude and like accepting and gratitude, the flowers and this, but I mean in your own life, not out in the world, but in your own life, when big shit happens, okay, like devastating. Mm-hmm. I find it hard to say thank you.
Well, I reference one thing, and I've done this multiple times, so again, forgive me my endless repetition. Christ on the cross, hanging on the cross, says, "Why have you forsaken me?" This was a pretty awake character. Mm-hmm. Why have you forsaken me? In total pain and agony, more than most of us get to know, except maybe at the end. And then this incredible transition happens that is not documented in the Gospels. But he then goes from that line to, "Forgive them, for they know not what they do." Mm-hmm. How did he get from abandonment to forgiveness? How did Christ do that? That's the journey we're all on. And there's no path to it. We don't know how, but it will happen. In the worst of the worst, it's not exactly gratitude, it's compassion, because everybody's suffering. Everybody's out there with being alive, which means in the process of being born, you're in the process of dying. It's all happening at the same time. You're in it. It's hard, but it also produces Beethoven's Ninth. Okay. We'll be here next week. Thank you.